They tell me that she talks to them at night, so that makes me smile.
Tawanda Brown lost her daughter Nikki King in the Metro Red Line crash 2 years ago today. Now she cares for her grandsons Andre and Emmanuel. She also hasn't forgiven Metro, and she said so during the ceremony.
They only seem to acknowledge this tragedy once a year, and we have to deal with it every day.
Along with Carolyn Jenkins, who lost her daughter Veronica DuBose, Brown is demanding that the Fort Totten plaque be moved to a bridge right at the crash site just north of the station.
She never made it to Fort Totten. She never made it here. Nobody made it to Fort Totten. They got on at the Tacoma station and they stopped there.
The women's plea and the raw emotion they shared on the podium apparently made an impression on D.C. Mayor Vincent Gray, who quickly made this pledge.
We are going to make that happen so that people remember the lives of those who perished in that accident.
Well, this evening you can see that several family members of those lost in the crash have come out here onto the New Hampshire Avenue Bridge. This is where they want that plaque, that memorial to go. They say they're very heartened to hear that the mayor is now on their side. They're looking forward to seeing it put in place. In Northeast Washington, Brad Bell for News Channel 8.
One of those victims was mother of 6, Ana Fernandez. The 40-year-old immigrant from El Salvador was one of killed 9 that day. Her daughter Evelyn is now head of the house, taking care of her 5 siblings. At today's accident remembrance ceremony, the 20-year-old read a letter to her mother.
Ana Fernandez.
I can't believe that you're gone. You was my best friend, my mother, my father, everything that I am.
Fernandez was a single parent who struggled to make ends meet, working as a cleaner. Her children returned to her gravesite today to honor her life and all she did for her children. In the 2 years since the crash, changes have been made to keep riders safe. Metro says they're making progress, but admits more needs to be done.
It's been 2 years since the deadliest crash in Metro history, and many riders say the problems have not gone away.
A lot of times you have escalators that don't work.
Usually you see a lot of delays, like the maintenance problems.
Maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I was actually on a train that we had to get off of because it was smoking.
Even Metro admits that it still hasn't met all of the NTSB's safety recommendations made not just after the 2009 crash, but well before.
Hindsight is always 20/20, you know, when shoulda, coulda, woulda, but they're making attempts.
And that, Metro says, they are. Over the past 12 months, they say they've taken more than 100 different actions to improve safety, from fixing faulty tracks to installing rollback protection in most of its trains and pouring $148 million to rehab and replace its escalators.
Some extra procedures must have been taken or implemented, and I've noticed these procedures.
But Metro still hasn't replaced the oldest rail cars in the fleet. That won't happen until the end of 2013. And just last week, Metro's general manager admitted they're trying to dig our way out of a hole. Years of equipment and infrastructure neglect have taken their toll. 2 years ago, that statement couldn't have seemed more true. Now 2 years later, and Metro's work continues. And with the help of Senator Mikulski, Metro was able to secure $150 million in federal funds for this fiscal year. But doing that for next fiscal year could prove much more difficult. And as Metro said, if they're not able to do that, the consequences could be serious. Reporting from Northeast Washington, Caroline Leiters, News Channel 8.
We've posted a slideshow from today's ceremony on our website, tbd.com. In less than an hour, President Obama plans to outline his strategy for pulling thousands of troops from Afghanistan. More than half of Americans want the troops home now, and the drawdown process begins tonight.
Those relief-filled reunions are still tempered by these more solemn homecomings, 1,500 so far. So tonight, the president will announce a drawdown. Early reports indicate 10,000 troops this year, 20,000 next, the same amount sent in for the surge.
I think I will be disappointed by what the president will say.
Matt Southworth is a veteran of war, now lobbying on the Hill for peace.
War hasn't worked. War won't work. So let's stop trying to find a military solution for a political conflict.
Please raise your cards.
Aye. And in Maryland this week, mayors from around the country demanded the war end, something they haven't done since Vietnam. But those in favor of boots on the ground say progress is being made. The surge working and reducing forces could hurt the cause. Secretary Gates and General Petraeus have called for a more modest 3,000 to 5,000 troops. But as for 10,
it may be too much. I think we have to have the drawdown in Afghanistan pivot off conditions on the ground.
We've got an awful lot invested here, and I'm concerned about any precipitous withdrawal.
Putting the president in a difficult position tonight of keeping a promise and keeping true to the mission at hand.
A drawdown means that Afghans will take control of parts of their country beginning next month, but there are many concerns that the police force isn't ready, security isn't ready, and the government isn't stable enough. Those are certainly issues that the president will likely have to address during that primetime speech tonight. Scott Thuman, News Channel 8.
Keep it here with News Channel 8 to watch the speech live and a political analysis with our experts. There are new questions this evening about a lavish overseas trip by government officials. A 12-member team of federal and state highway officials went on a 17-day, all-expenses-paid trip around the world. Their mission was to study billboards. Ultimately, taxpayers paid for their luxury hotels in Sydney, Sweden, the Netherlands, Scotland, and London.
The taxpayers certainly should be outraged that their money is being spent on this type of activity when our roads are falling apart, gas taxes and prices are at an all-time high.
The program has spent more than $12 million over the past decade. After ABC News contacted him this week, Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood ordered the program suspended. But ABC reports right now another group of federal officials are on another overseas trip, this time studying pavement. Regulars are heartbroken over what happened to a familiar Capitol Hill restaurant this morning. Firefighters arrived at the Tune-In restaurant around 7:15. Employees called for help, saying it was a kitchen fire. Firefighters were able to quickly get things under control. The flames caused about $75,000 in damage, and the restaurant has since closed its doors. The good news, no one was injured. Rory McIlroy is back home after his epic U.S. Open triumph in Bethesda. He received a hero's welcome at his golf club in Northern Ireland. The 22-year-old became the youngest winner of the Open in 88 years, breaking records at Congressional Country Club. But that's not enough for McIlroy. He says he wants to become a multiple major winner. With 3% of the D.C. population infected, there's a new push to get everyone tested. Doctors promise you won't feel a thing. And how do you tell a cancer patient you don't have the drug she needs to stay alive? Why doctors across the country are facing this problem.